Hey everybody, my name is Dave Lillard and this is a prophetic house call. Over the last few years there's been a lot of debate over the term rapture. A lot of people don't believe that Jesus, Yeshua, is going to come back anytime. They just think that it's been too long, that for some reason he's just not going to come back. Well, you have to understand, and I know the argument, the rapture teaching's only been taught in the last 150 years or so. And this is true. The reason for that is from the time that the Apostle John died until somewhere in the mid-1800s, nothing prophetic had taken place. But beginning in the mid-1800s through today, there's been a lot of things happening prophetically. And in this short video, I want to give you 10 reasons why this is the terminal generation. The reason number one is increase of knowledge. In Daniel 12:4 we read, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." Think about it. From the beginning of time until the mid-19th century, not a lot changed. Men traveling would have to go by boat, which was a sailboat, or if they were on land, they walked, they rode a camel, they rode a horse, they rode a donkey. In modern times, we have the invention of the steam engine, which allowed for steamships to be built, which allowed for locomotives to be built. Then came the automobile. Then came the airplane. Then came supersonic flight. Then came the ability for man to leave Earth and travel to the moon. We've got a space station orbiting the Earth right now, capable of sustaining life indefinitely. Look at the advances in medicine. We've had to redefine death because we can now keep someone alive on drugs and with machines indefinitely. I'm going to just touch on this because I'm going to speak about it a little bit later. Look at television. The miracle of you're watching me right now. All over the world this video can be seen. The increase of knowledge. The second reason was the birth of nuclear war. In Zechariah 14:12, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes. And their tongues shall consume away in their mouth." The prophet Zechariah just gave us the perfect picture of a nuclear explosion and what happens to the human body in a nuclear explosion. Before the bones can hit the ground, a nuclear explosion, the power, the heat from it can literally melt the flesh off the bones. Think about it for a second. Zechariah saw this thousands of years before the invention of nuclear warfare. Remember, in World War II, the United States used two different nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People were literally consumed away. When a nuclear bomb explodes, the temperature goes to 150 million degrees Fahrenheit in a fraction of a second. That's pretty hot. And yes, it is hot enough to melt the skin off the bones. The third thing, this is the one that excites me the most, the rebirth of the nation of Israel. In 70 AD, General Titus, the Roman general, came to Jerusalem and he destroyed the city, killing thousands. And his men completely destroyed the temple, just like Jesus said they would do. Listen to this verse. This is Isaiah 66:8. "Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in a day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travaileth, she brought forth her children. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion stood in the Tel Aviv Library on May 14, 1948, and he declared that the modern state of Israel would be born on May 15th. In a day's time, the British left Israel, and at midnight that night, Israel was reborn after almost 2,000 years of not being a nation. When the Romans sacked Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, it began what's known as the diaspora. The children of Israel were scattered all over the world. Suddenly, they had a homeland to come home to. Israel was once again a nation. Once again, they had a place to call home. I've often heard it said that had Israel not become a nation again, then we would have had reason to doubt the validity of the prophetic scriptures. But Israel became a nation again. The fourth sign, the sign of the scoffer. 2 Peter 3 verses 3 and 4 says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. Every time somebody says he's not coming back, every time somebody claims there's no God, every time somebody claims that our Messiah isn't coming back, they are fulfilling biblical prophecy. They don't even know it, but they are. They're fulfilling the biblical prophecies. Every day I run across people on my radio program who want to argue about whether or not he's coming back. I've got news for you. He is coming back. He's coming back a lot sooner than people think he's coming back. And if you aren't ready, man, I wouldn't wait another second. If you're not ready to meet your Maker, you better be, and quickly. The fifth sign, gathering together of the Jews from Russia. Jeremiah 23 verses 7 and 8. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no longer say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. The first Exodus came when, of course, Moses was sent by Yehovah to get the children of Israel out of Egypt. But many of the Jewish people went to the far country to the north. Anytime the Bible speaks about a direction, they're always talking about from Israel. And if you look at a map, you'll see you've got Jerusalem, and the far north country is Russia. Across the Caspian Sea, the Jewish people are coming home from Russia by the thousands. Again, another prophetic sign. Another prophetic sign. Number 6, Jerusalem reunited under Jewish control. The 6-Day War, 1967. It was a beautiful time for the children of Israel. After being unable to go on the Holy Mountain for nearly 2,000 years, after not being able to go to the last remaining piece of the Second Temple, which is the Western Wall, also called the Wailing Wall, Israeli paratroopers were able to break through, and they made it all the way They made it all the way to the Western Wall. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have seen it that June day in 1967. Luke 21:24 says, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled." The time was fulfilled. With the birth of Israel in 1948, and then the Jewish people being able to come back and recapture and reunite the city of Jerusalem in 1967. These are glorious things, folks. These are absolutely glorious things. Let's go on. Number 7, the invention of international communication, satellite television. Yeah, it's alluded to in the Bible. In Revelation, the 11th chapter, we find the story of the two witnesses. They come back, and I firmly believe that this is Elijah and Enoch. They're the only two people that we know of from the Bible accounts that never saw death. So they have to die at some point in time. I believe Elijah and Enoch will come back, and they will be the witnesses that are at the Temple Mount for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period. After the first 3.5 years is over, the Antichrist comes to Jerusalem, and he will kill the two witnesses. Nobody's been able to touch them until the Antichrist gets there. They had divine protection from God. The Antichrist kills them, and for 3.5 days their dead bodies lay in the streets of Jerusalem. All of a sudden, these two witnesses come to life and they stand up. Now, the Bible tells us that every person in the world will see this in an hour's time. How could that be possible? Satellite television. A camera can be rolling in Jerusalem, send a signal to a satellite orbiting the earth, and in 3 to 7 seconds, that signal has bounced from satellite to ground station to satellite to ground station and can be seen by every person on earth. That's how it's going to happen. How is every eye going to behold Jesus when he comes back? Satellite television. There'll be people walking down the street with their cell phones that will witness the second coming of Jesus. There will be people on their cell phones, internet, television, that will see these two witnesses lay dead in the streets of Jerusalem, suddenly come back to life. They'll hear a voice from heaven saying, "Come up hither," and the cameras will pan up as those two witnesses go into the heavens and disappear. It's going to happen.